morning, children. Today we will be starting a new chapter in our English literature. Okay, it is on page 86. Please open your books and get ready. We are going to be doing the chapter China Silk. Okay, now silk, as you know, is a very expensive fabric. Your mothers might be having silk saris. Sometimes your father has a silk tie. Okay, so it's very costly or expensive. How did people come to know how to make silk? This story tells us how they discovered the secret of silk making and where it started. So let us begin. A long time ago, in a tiny village in China, there lived a poor girl from a weaver's family. So there was a small village in China who lived there? A poor girl, and she belonged to a weaver's family. A weaver is a person who makes from cotton. Okay, they make thread to make it into cloth. Okay, first they take the cotton, clean it up, they make it into threads. Okay, even your clothes you will see have threads in them, and then they weave the threads into cloth. Okay, and the cloth you take it to the tailor and make it into your clothes. Okay. One day, the emperor was passing through the village and saw her working in the fields. So the Chinese emperor was passing through the village on one of his, maybe he had gone to inspect something or to meet someone when he saw her. So what did he notice about her? He noticed her red cheeks. So this poor girl had red cheeks and rosebud-like mouth. So you've seen a picture of the rosebud. It's red and very delicate looking. Okay, so he looked at her face. She was very beautiful with red cheeks and rosebud-like mouth and her proud bearing. Now children, sometimes when we stand like this, we look very ugly even if you have a pretty face. But if you stand straight and tall, you look very, very smart. So she had a very proud bearing. That means she stood straight. Okay? And her rough, work-worn hands. So he not only saw her pretty face, but he saw her hands, which were rough and work-worn, which meant, what did that rough hands mean? It meant that she worked very hard through the year. It meant that she was not a lazy girl at all. He immediately fell in love with her, and though he was much older, decided to marry her. So the emperor decided to marry this poor girl from a weaver's family. The girl married the ruler of the land and went to live in his palace as his beloved queen. So the emperor loved his poor girl very much, okay? His queen very much. And she went to live in the palace. You might think that she would be very happy in the palace with beautiful clothes to wear, with lots of servants to do her work. But what happened? Let us find out. But she was unhappy. Was she happy? No. She had grown up in the wide open spaces of the countryside, and now she was confined to a palace. So she was used to going out, walking in the fields, working in the fields, helping her parents, talking to her friends, and now suddenly she's become the empress and she has to stay in the palace. Now when you are the empress, you cannot even go out without bodyguards. So she was confined, restricted to the palace, and she was not happy. She was used to working from dawn to night, from very early in the morning before the sun rose till late at night without a moment's rest. But now she had many servants to take care of her needs and did not know how to fill her time. So she had no work now. She was so used to working hard the whole day, and now she had no work. If she wanted a handkerchief from a room, a servant would go and fetch it for her. A servant would wash her clothes. A servant would bring her shoes. After all, she was the empress, and the emperor loved her very much. So she was bored. She didn't know what to do. There was no work for her, and she was so used to working hard. In the village, she had been surrounded by family and friends who exchanged news and gossip as they worked. So in the village, she had a lot of her friends. They used to come, maybe play a game sometimes, talk, laugh, sing, talk to one another, gossip about someone. But here in the palace, she was all alone. Now the people are also scared of talking to her. No, they can't come up and say, "Hi, how are you?" Because she was the empress. If anyone came to her, they had to bow down before her. So she had no friends in the palace. But in the palace, it was quiet and no one spoke out of turn. So that means they did not speak to her without her asking for something or saying something. The emperor noticed his new wife was sad and tried his best to make her happy. He bought her grand clothes and jewels and artifacts. So he saw that she was not happy, so he thought, maybe if I buy her clothes and jewels and different things, she will be happy. But do you think things will make you happy? Let's find out. He also threw elaborate parties and hired the best musicians of the land to amuse her. So he had huge parties, and maybe he had hired the best musicians. So he planned the parties, all the musicians came and played for her, and he tried to make her happy. Yet she was sad. So all these things did not bring her happiness. One afternoon, the empress sat under a mulberry bush in her garden, lost in her thought about her village. So she was sitting in the garden under a mulberry bush and she was thinking about her village. She slowly sipped hot water from a cup. Staring up at the blue sky, the girl remembered the birds that flew over her village. So she was very, very sad. Now, in the next class, we will be reading page 88. Okay, children, this much for today. Please read pages 86 and 87. Okay, and I'll get back to you in the next class. Thank you.